Hey guys, and welcome back to Walker's Workshop. Today here in the shop we're going to be building a press brake for bending any kind of material. I want to build some brackets for the tractor. For that I need to bend some 90 degrees, some 45s, couple things. Pretty neat tool. I'm going to be using just a generic Harbor Freight, I think it's a 10-ton press. I bought it on sale, real cheap. You don't need anything real special for this. I'll show you guys what we're going to be doing. So I'm using this press brake here I got from Harbor Freight. What's it say on it? It's a 12-ton shop press. Picked it up on sale. It was pretty cheap. I don't remember. I needed it for a specific job and thought, yeah, I could really use that around the shop. So let me showing you the material we're going to be using. I got set up on the bandsaw here. It's 1.5 by 1.5, 1/4 inch thick angle iron. We're going to be using that. I got some flat bar, some 2 inch by 1/4 inch thick flat bar I picked up at the surplus store. Let's get started. Okay, so let me take a couple measurements here. You could make this pretty much whatever size you need. For my press that I have, about 1 foot is going to be really all I need. It's going to be about all the bigger I'm going to be able to fit in there. So let's get some metal cut up. Alright, so now that we got all of our pieces cut, I'm going to show you what we got here and show you how we'll put it together, and we'll get it tacked up. Ready. So we got our two main pieces, our 1.5 by 1.5 angle, our 2 inch flat stock. I cut some two 1 inch pieces, or 1 by 1 angle iron, and a small sleeve. So the way this is going to work, it's a real simple setup. I'm going to set these two guys up here just like this, and they are going to hold this guy. So you could do this a bunch of different ways. You know, you could use some extra angle iron. You know, you could use two pieces and put it in here like this. You could put gussets, you know, in here, welded on a piece of flat stock, and then put some gussets in here. You could really do it a bunch of different ways. This is just some of the material I had laying around. So we're going to do it just like this. It doesn't have to be real precise or anything. I like using my workbench as a jig. It's a nice flat steel workbench. So now that I keep these pushed into the side, that looks good right there, nice and sturdy. You could put a level across here. My workbench isn't level. I keep it tilted down in the front a little bit for oil to run off of. So really for this, you know, kind of DIY at home type of deal, this is going to work out just fine. I have my workbench grounded with the welder. Let's go ahead and get this piece tacked up. flip it over, see what it looks like. Looks pretty good. Go ahead and keep tacking it here. Alright, so the bed is tacked up. Put that to the side. This is going to be the top piece where the press is actually going to push down on. Kind of get him laid in here. Like I say, we're not being real super technical about this. This looks really good, just like that. I'm going to hurry up and tack that in before it moves. Okay, take our sleeve. Alright, so you can kind of start to see the basic concept of what's going to happen here. This will be the bed that lays down on the press. This will be the top part. It'll come down in just like that. So if we had, I don't want to bend it square, but so you had this piece of flat bar in here, you put your mark where you want to bend it. You would bring your point of your angle straight down onto your mark and start pressing. Alright, now I'll push that right down and form it in nicely. Let me show you what it looks like in the press itself. I'm gonna have to adjust this, I guess. So yeah, this slide, this piece, oh, it almost fits. I'm gonna trim just a wee little bit off of that guy right there. But you get the concept, right? So this will go in there, press will push it down, and you'll get your angle. I'm gonna go ahead and finish welding this stuff up. I'll be back when it's done. Alright guys, time for our Geek Peek segment of the video. Some of you might have noticed that when before I welded my pieces, that I took the torch over top of them. The reason I did that was a couple different reasons. One reason was to remove some of the mill scale. Mill scale is that blue, black, flaky stuff that comes off of the steel. It comes from you know, the rolling process when they're forming the steel. It's no good. It's Sometimes it's oil coated to prevent the metal from rusting, to when it gets to the customer. If you're doing any serious structural welding or anything you want to, like, 100% make sure you get the best outcome you can, the mill scale needs to be completely removed and welded over. You have to be careful because it will rust very fast once that mill scale is removed. Like, it'll flash rust in a humid environment in a minute. So that's one thing you need to, you get that mill scale off, you do your work, you need to put something back on it to prevent rust. Another reason, which I just mentioned, was the steel you get is normally oil coated. So you want to keep all the contaminants oil coated. You want to keep all the contaminants out of your weld as possible. Now, I use a solid wire gas welder to do it, so that the gas brings all the impurities and everything up out of the weld, and you'll see that on top you'll get the glassy looking material on top of your weld bead. That's all the impurities that it has brought up out. And also, just being in a humid environment, like here in the garage, there's humidity. If I got a real good close-up when I was doing that, you would see, you can physically see the water just disperse. Now, it could have been dry to the touch. You would have never noticed it was on there. But, so I use that to disperse water. So I'm not building anything in my own garage that's like super structural, it needs to be, 100% good. But a lot of guys will use a grinder and they'll grind it. Well, what happens is grinding that's fine, but sometimes grinding can, and if you've watched any, I don't know if I've made any videos on it. So the surface of the steel is actually just like all these mountains like this under a microscope. I don't even know if you'd see it under a microscope. On a molecular level or super small. When that grinder wheel comes around, all it does is it takes these mountains and it can knock them over. Instead of erasing them and making them smooth, it can take some of these small ones and just knock them over. So, and in some cases, they can get bent over and then trap in here. It can trap debris or moisture or anything. So when I use a torch on there and I'm burning all of the bad stuff out, the impurities, when I'm burning all of the water or anything, oil, that stuff's getting all burnt, and you're 100% not trapping anything in there. So it removes some mill scale, gets rid of the oil, it gets rid of the water, and it also preheats the metal. So I don't have a 220 or 480 welder. My welder is just a 110. It is the largest 110 on the market that I know of. So it does burn pretty good for that 1/4 inch material. It burns really well. Wouldn't ever have to preheat it if you were doing 1/4 inch or less. That being said, having something preheated a little bit, and I'm not heating it up to where it's molten or melting or anything like that, but having it heated up, getting those molecules spread out a little bit, allowing your wire, to melt in really well. Preheating is always a good option anytime you weld anything. So that's why I use the torch. Not saying you can't use the grinder. The grinder does a fine job. I prefer that it's just as fast for me to grab the torch, light it, heat it up, as it is for me to grab the grinder, maybe put a battery in it or plug it in or whatever, grind it down. Personally, I like using the torch. If you were welding on any sort of exhaust, so say you had a tailpipe you were going to fix up, and of course most exhaust pipe is aluminized, right? So it has that coating on the outside. That stuff is really nasty. It makes really bad welds. You can't put enough a gas mixture from your welder in there to make a 100% good clean weld. So you use the torch and you burn off, that stuff burns off pretty easy. You burn off that aluminized coating, now you're down to the bare steel of that exhaust pipe. Of course, if it's rusty at all, you burn away all that oxidation off of there, and it's real easy then to get a nice weld on a tailpipe. A lot of us know what that's like, trying to weld exhaust, especially rusty exhaust or aluminized. So I enjoy using the torch much better than a grinder almost any time that I gotta weld something. So that's your quick geek peek and reason why I use the torch over the grinder whenever I'm gonna do welding of pretty much any sort. Alright, so as I'm sure most of you figured out, I welded this little tab on here to hold it onto the ram, and of course tapped it 1/4 20, so that way when we put it all together, if my fingers want to work right, you can put this up on top of the hydraulic press, tighten your fastening nut there, or fastening bolt up, and then you don't have to worry about having 10 hands to do everything. So this is what we got. This is what it looks like. This guy, I probably will finish welding everything up solid all the way across there at a later date, but for the quick, time consuming part of the video here, just to get it on there and get it working, let's give it a shot. So I'll set you guys over here so you can see what we got going on. Okay, take this guy, put him up on here. Now, you got to remember that this jam nut or jam bolt, whatever you want to call it, is only there to hold this thing in place. The actual pusher pressing down is going to be on this flat iron piece here. So you're going to have that, and this guy's going to go underneath here. And then you can, well, I guess the jack's pointed the wrong direction, isn't it? Spin him around. There we go. Got that tightened up. So you can kind of get him centered up there a little bit. There, that's good and tight. So that's right where he needs to be. Centered up wise. Put our jack up all the way. Let's test her out here. I got a little piece of, this is 4-inch flat stock, just carbon steel. It's 4 by, what is that, about 3/16 inch plate. Well, stock, flat stock. Slide them in here like so. Say you want to use this piece to make a bracket of some sort or whatever. There, I got a little piece of weld on that. I hope that's not going to mess that up. Maybe I should put that on the down side. I guess either side, whether it's up or down, not going to matter. Maybe I ought to grind them off. Yeah, let's see what it does. So slide them in there. Let's say we have a imaginary mark in there because we figured out our geometry of what size, where we need our bend to be. Tighten him up. Bring our jack handle out. If you wanted a 45, you know, you could jack it down like this, let it up, use your square, check it. If you wanted a 90, you know, of course you go all the way. Now see, I have a little weld burr on there. It's going to booger up my 90 degrees. Now let's put them down. Okay, so you can feel it physically gets a lot tighter right there whenever you're all the way in. Let that up. Slide this piece out. You got a real nice, crisp 90-degree bend. Yeah, this guy's not so nice on this side because I had that weld spall on there. But makes really nice to make a bracket. You could bend it here and say you needed a 45, you need like a C-channel, you can make your own piece of C-channel, whatever you needed. You can also use it for round stock. I do suggest having separate jaws for round stock because you will get divots in this top piece and it may cause a little bit of stress here. You might get a little bit rounded pieces here. I don't know how thick of metal this would bend. I guess you kind of just have to experiment and see, I suppose. If you had something that was wider than this, you could certainly turn it like this, you know, loosen your jam nut, put it in there so you could get something a little wider in there. Bunch of different things you could do, but that was just a quick little 10-minute jobby there to make your own press brake. Yeah, you can do that in a bench vise, you know, and put it in your vise and hammer it over until it's flat. I've done that a gazillion times. I don't think it makes the nicest bend. You know, you always have hammer marks in it. Even if you use a block of wood, you know, you always get the jaw marks in it from the vise. You can, you know, buy different jaws for your vise. You know, you get plastic ones or wood ones or even soft ones like brass. But I don't, not that you can't do it. Like I say, I've done it a bunch of times. This makes things so much nicer. You need to make some brackets real quick. You know, if you're building a 4-link and you need to build some brackets for your heim joints and stuff, draw it up with a piece of cardboard or whatever, and throw it in here, bend it up the way you need it, weld her fast. Works great. So just a quick little neat little tool there that you can add to your shop press that you might already have, or you can buy a shop press. They're not that expensive. Make yourself nice brackets, save you a bunch of money, do a nice professional job. Look there. The next video, we're actually going to be using this. Going to be building some attachment pieces for the tractor. So follow along. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see all the rest of the projects we get into. And we'll see you on the next one.